Hey, so this is kind of more so a very slight deviation from my usual video format. Realistically though, it's really not that different. It's mostly just me having stuff to say and not having a reason to say it. Of course, I could probably just make this into, a better and actually edited video. But I thought this was a very funny idea in my head, and I can't really deny it anymore. So, yeah. Alright, yeah, also spoilers for literally every single Project Moon. I have literally no idea what I'm going to talk about. This is more so just say whatever is on my mind kind of video. So if I say anything, just expect it. And I'm probably going to explain it so badly that's not even spoiler in the first place. Also, warning for misinformation or stuff. I haven't actually read all the books in Library Aruna, since that's way too much reading, even for me. And, the Distortion Detective only kind of have a more vague clue on how it goes. I've seen a few videos on it, but haven't read the full thing yet. So if I say anything wrong, then you just gotta know it's my God-given right to spread large amounts of misinformation on the internet. And it just happens. First, I just gotta talk about this kind of stuff. Made a community post about it, and I didn't really explain myself clearly there. I probably won't even explain myself clearly now. When Faust is a homunculus, but you just can't prove it. That thing. The whole point is based off the Hang Peng Peng trailer they released for the Black Silence. And it's Angelica with messy hair looks literally just like Faust. Literally. Of course, there's a few differences between them. I'm pretty sure they have different eye color. And their fashion senses are also very similar, with a sweater and a suit over it. And alright, yeah, and their body types are also quite similar too. The whole idea is that, Faust is a homunculus. Something artificial, something made in the lab. I haven't really read the book Faust is based on, but I heard that's quite a consistent theme that's perpetuated throughout it. So I'd like to just say, maybe Faust was made in a lab. That might explain her weird ability. But how does this rare weird specimen created in the lab spread out over the city, the mirror worlds? But then again, considering Ishmael is a family hierarchy Ishmael story, it's identities aren't meant to make sense. The universe tries to figure out ways for them to work, but they just manifest if you expect the identities to happen. So if you want more, just shit, then the She's Association identity joke is over now. We already got one. So it's just thanks for all of y'all for praying for it or whatever. What I'm just saying is Faust might have been, made in the same lab or by the same organization in Angelica. I'm 80% sure that in Library Aruna it's mentioned that Angelica was founded the outskirts or the back streets after being experimented on by something, and she had stuff implanted into her that made her super powerful, made her the Black Silence. And the idea that Faust is made in the same lab does make sense to me. In the community post I mentioned, with the LCCE checkup event, Faust's nerf power isn't really that high compared to everything. And considering how Don Quixote unnerfed is only a second kindred, it doesn't really make sense for her to have Black Silence level power. Since, of course, Roland and Angelica were the ones who were able to kill the Blood Red Knight, which is probably the higher generation than they are. But if a second generation Kindred require the color fixers to take down, then why isn't the city over yet? But the whole point that Faust probably only got a minor amount of upgrades, and they added her intelligence modifier or the ability to connect to other mirror worlds, or the Jetral Shaft. Of course, in the Malfaust story, we learned that she does connect to other mirror worlds. But, there might also be other Fausts in our world that are collecting information from other places. And again, that doesn't really make sense, does it? But again, our Faust also talks about contacting the Miss Company higher ups. But the BR worlds are, the BR worlds one, they don't work for the Mist Company, so why would they? It's kind of weird for me, but then again, in the family hierarchy Ishmael story, Carmen mentioned that it's not so a possibility that creates identity, it's a belief that there's a possibility that creates it instead. Shoot, I didn't even explain my main point yet. Angelica was said to be made in lab. Faust was probably made in the same lab, they just decided to use the same mold and same body type. Making a new body for a person probably is annoying. Might as well just reuse the design. And honestly, it's a perfect design. If I was able to create artificial humans, it gives them powers and stuff like that. I think Faust's body type would definitely be reusable. It's come on, it's perfect design. Whoever came up with it must have been a genius. More of a genius than whoever came up with the lame stuff, like how to give her upgrades to make her color fixer level, or give her the ability to connect to BR worlds. All that's quite mediocre compared to, making Faust looking, or making Angelica looking. Of course, Angelica has longer hair and straighter hair and expresses more emotions. But, Faust also gradually expresses more emotions throughout the story, so maybe they're, made in the lab. Have some data about combat, or data about the city implanted in their mind so they can function. And of course, Faust gets the actual buff of the gesture shaft, well, Angelica got the actual buff of whatever body enhancement they gave her. But after living outside as a human for a while, they do all seem to gradually gain human emotions. Then act more human. And, Angelica and Faust both bleed. We've seen that. So it makes sense for Angelica's hair to be longer, since it would just be her hair growing out. But the sweater vest thing is kind of weird for me. Are they just genetically programmed to like sweater vests? But they got this outfit fits the vibe, so it makes sense why they would like it. Speaking of that, I would actually like to talk more about body enhancements and just body enhancements and implants. I consistently mentioned saying, why is this guy so powerful? He has body enhancements and implants. Wow, Hindley's gonna fight us. Well, he's got body enhancements and implants, so of course he's got 2,000 or 3,000 HP or whatever he got. It's mentioned that inconsistency, and that means everyone's a cyborg. I feel at that point, Ancorp's faction under Cromer is kind of just screwed, since every single high-grade fixer is probably a cyborg of the Swiss implant or something. Then again, the implants might be biological implants. Have a gland installed inside of you that creates special chemicals that make all your muscles stronger or something like that. That'll also be kind of interesting way to do it. From the media of Island Ages, we haven't really learned about the specifics of these implants. Of course, the more obvious cybernetic ones, getting extra cybernetic arms are quite obvious to all of us. He had the implant, so he's strong. It hasn't really been fully explained. Maybe, distortion detective or something like that. It has a part where it explains it better, or one of the books in the library room explains it completely, and I just happened to miss it. But how does it work? Implants, something the plant new wear. Is it a rim world, where you get a circadian assister implanted in your heart to make your heart beat better, or get all your skin removed, your skin peeled off, and you have your skin replaced. Also, getting these implants, we'd expect it to be fixer workshops, but that's a completely different set of skill, making a weapon versus, making dedicated machinery or biological components even for implants. And then having a doctor, put in them. But considering the city, maybe they don't even use doctors, they just shove it down someone's throat, and that's good enough. Of course, body enhancement tattoos exist, but those are a bit too obvious, though. So, what's the big body enhancement tattoos from everyone having them? They're public knowledge, not copyrighted by a wig or something. And maybe it requires really expensive or special ink or something. That will make sense to me. Like, you know, like they're not just like giving these things out like candy. It's probably like really special ink or something. Kind of like, you know, how you computed whale oil for both for the singularity of food preservation, the resonance tuning forks, and the giant resonance tuning forks for fusing ships. So maybe they need some special material for that. And maybe it's explained before, but I definitely don't miss it. Well, yeah, back to the idea of implants. Like something like an identity story I really like is actually David Sinclair's. It gives us a more proper view on the hierarchy structure of the city. And David Sinclair explaining like, man, this like case is gonna drain all my life essence and suck all my energies. Because if I don't go through this correctly. And you know, he talked about with Dave at Rodion about snacks and food and stuff. And then he realizes he's gonna run late, so he decides to fight his way through an entire gang battle of syndicates. But what really was pretty eye-opening is the reaction of the syndicate members. They kind of mentioned that, you know, like their knives and swords and stuff can't even pierce his armor. And his like internally installed implants mean that he can swing his suitcase around fast enough to literally just pulverize all of them. And that's quite an interesting power structure. The whole point is that the difference between Rat and a high-grade fixer isn't just skill, it isn't just equipment, it isn't even just the strength. Like they're literally like have stuff built inside them, so they're literally built different. Like I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And like another thing that I kind of want to talk about is kind of just, you know, the club event. We all love talking about the club event, don't we? Should I spoil Walk Nights? There's so much to spoil anyways, and the spoilers aren't even necessary. Just something you gotta know is the faction in charge of dealing with the Seaborn, you know, first start with slower tank weapons and tyrant tank weapons, because the Seaborn evolved in order to get stronger. So you gotta limit their evolution by limiting what they can evolve against. But I find that kind of stupid. Like, if the Seaborn actually have the intelligence to evolve, like, we can't just, like, evolve laser cannons and obliterate everyone or something like that. Or just, like, evolve a general purpose, like, strong and powerful outer body and obliterate everyone, once again. And, of course, it also implies that Seaborn hive minds have quite localized evolutions. Since if like the entire species evolved at once, and there's really no use of using first weaker than stronger weapons. Since unless they evolve very slow, this change of process is going to be very inefficient. And by very slow, I mean like actually over years to actually be able to properly swap out weapons from every single outpost in charge of defending. But anyways, this part is mostly about how Calzid decided to not have the Seaboards invade the city because like, using advanced technology against the Seaborn is gonna make them evolve too fast. But I feel like this is also one of the rare Calzid elves out there. Again, considering who Calzid is, she probably they should have a pretty good grasp on where technology can actually go, and you know actually annihilate the Seaborn. So what I'm saying is that the city is uniquely able to pull a large amount of bullshit on the Seaborns. Like anything from using the J-Core block singularity in order to unlock their ability to evolve, using the F-Core fairy in order to unlock their hive mind in order to control them, using unrefined K-Core tiers in order to revert them back to their dormant state, or revert them back to the people that they were turned from, or using like there's a lot more, like they use W-Corp to banish them to the empty dimension. Also, I feel like W-Corp tech is kind of underutilized, like, you know, just to do them, W-Corp has a singularity and the checkpoint ability. We really don't see that in the W-Corp agents enough. But yeah, they use the checkpoints on the trains, but I find there's better uses. Like, you know, when you're going to battle, set checkpoint for yourself, so whenever you're about to get killed, you can checkpoint yourself to heal back to full health and charge in again, or something like that. And also like this, they just a UW core singularity to send them into the infinite space with infinite time, where they can just be banished into nothing. Maybe using T-Corp singularity to force them to evolve against the concept of time itself. Since in front of time, we are all losers. And of course, it's just the Arbiter can be routed using a shockwave to one-shot them all. But I feel like Altus's plan of letting the Seaboards come into the city was probably actually a good idea. Then again, those are all like singularity and corp level stuff. But even without it, the city has such a wide array of technology that's basically impossible to evolve against all of them. Like the Dual Association's fire, the Shinka Association's speed and piercing attack. Like even way more than that. Like tell like backstreet syndicates and gangs even have different fighting styles and different combat doctrines and such. So what I'm saying is, the city is quite advanced after that. But that kind of gives us the question, like, what happened to the civilization that created the ruins? Like, are we all cooked? Seriously? Like, our singularity are just random technology found in the ruins. So it's a pretty safe assumption that when the ruins were created, or when the ruins weren't ruined, these singularities were probably just everyday whatever the hells. But maybe like, I don't know, the A-Corp singularity was just some stupid startup company at that time just managed to crowdsource for $15 in order to make a basic prototype, and now a super powerful singularity or something like that. It makes sense. Then again, there are also singularities invented in the city. I'm pretty sure the J-Corp singularity, as it was mentioned to be one. So the ability to also invent singularities in cities. So maybe the singularities aren't really that special, are they? But then again, like, look around you, or don't look around you if you're sleeping, imagine things. And imagine all the technologies and all the stuff that could do stuff. Everything from computers to jets to sliced bread. And they're all pretty unique in their own aspects, aren't they? And there's quite a few. There's quite a few pieces of tech that if you're able to take back in time, you could probably find quite a few very interesting uses out of them. I'm pretty sure there are like consistent like isekais about this kind of stuff too. But what I'm saying is like what wiped them out? Seriously, like if you got this much tech, and a lot of this tech probably wasn't even like military grade, super encrypted kind of tech, probably just like civilian use tech, If this was their more basic kind of stuff, then how didn't it get wiped out? Seriously. Yeah, the monsters in the outskirts are strong. I'm thinking the strongest monster we've seen is a pallid whale. The pallid whale, the pallid whale could literally get its heart just pulled out. And after its heart got pulled out, the indigo elder literally threw an anchor so hard that it was able to pierce into the whale and literally dig into its heart of hearts to allow us to climb out through the rope. And obviously he was the absolute G for doing that. It's just... Like, realistically consider what we've seen, that's probably one of the higher echelons of monsters in the outskirts. And of course, it was also mentioned that the place the city stands on was originally inhabited by robots, and we had to, fight off the robots and had decided to ban robots and stuff. So seriously, what ended the civilization? Is it just a combination stuff, monsters that coming out of nowhere? A robot, actually AI uprising. And again, if that happened, we would be seeing a lot more stronger monsters around after they, devoured people and got to reproduce. We'd see more organized and consistent robots. Since if the AI uprising won, like you'd expect them to actually start doing whatever the fuck they want to, and building up their own ideal robot society, whatever. But we don't. Like, what ended them? Like, you could saw it's probably just like cosmic horror kind of stuff, Cthulhu appearing and just absolutely annihilating them. I think Cthulhu isn't even one of the stronger old gods and what was it called? Just the Lovecraft verse. That's all how it's Lovecraftian mythos. Man, don't you miss it when they give stuff actual names instead of just something verse? It's the Sonic verse. That's stupid. The Lovecraftian mythos, that's way cooler. Anyways, side tangent over. It's just, what destroyed them? Seriously. The stars and nebulae are all quite interesting concepts to me too. Dante is probably applied to be probably a nebulae. Since his idea of the fallen nebulae returning home to become a star. Well, what the hell even is a star? Like, star of a city, thinking Dante being a star of a city level strat is already like a pretty big shot type. But I feel like that's quite insignificant, isn't it? We've got color fixers in our plan. We've got Corp's affiliated and stuff. And the Corp can absolutely annihilate a star of a city if it actually felt like trying. So maybe, the stars with Nebulae. Also, something I feel like a lot of people don't pay attention to is how the Barry said that the war with the Nebulae was inevitable. But what does that mean? And was Nebulae just metaphor for blood fiends? I feel like that would be quite a lame cop-out. Alright, it's also mentioned Nebulae from the outskirts. The war with the Nebulae from the outskirts. So I don't know, like maybe the final chapter of the Mist Company will be like the city getting together. Dante creating the Tree of Light, and everyone's using the power of friendship to defeat the monster from the outskirts or something like that. But it's still confusing to me, like the Nebulae. And also, when annihilated the previous civilization, if it's still around, wouldn't it, like, it should be stronger than all of our singularities combined, by far, and all of the singularities, even when used together properly, it will probably be nothing compared to what actually annihilated the original civilization. So I guess the cosmic horror element is very much present, and it's near omnipresence if you would expect it to be so. Also, Dante's star is still confusing to me, and like I could simply look up and see the star. What is the star? Seriously, it's hurting my brain. And of course, stars in reference to the Little Prince. The star is a planet that people have lived on, each a world of their own. So maybe the idea of star might just be like reminiscent of the lobotomy corporation and the light, the light, individuality, and ego. And Dante Dante is a 10th sinner and X is 10th letter of the alphabet. So it might just be Ian pulling out Ian again and Ianing all over the place, aka like forcing all his friends into a perpetual death loop where they'll learn to become better people at the end. And we all need a friend like Ian, someone who puts us into perpetual death loops and revives us over and over again to continue the cycle in order to help us actually become good people and learn the cool and important life lessons like don't kill yourself and other cool and important facts like that. And also Ian is a surprisingly good neurosurgeon. Or maybe, they have a good neurosurgeon work for them. Like Ian was able to find Carmen bleeding out in the bathtub, and was able to literally just pull out her entire nervous system while keeping her alive. The thing again with K-Corp and Pure, I feel like that would be easy. But then again, it's a lab in the outskirts, and being tracked down by the head was the worst thing that happened to them, so going into direct contact with a wing in order to buy their singularity would definitely give their position away, so they probably didn't actually have that kind of stuff. But still, Gary and was spirits through by the red mist. But Hein was still able to pull out her brain and shove it into a robot. Like, how does he do this? That's why he's my go, anyways. That's why he's my go. That's why he's my guy. He literally pulled out people's nervous systems. Like, if you got into fight with Zion, your brain would be inside a robot before you could even think about it. Or maybe, of course, just advanced medical technology and see, since referring to previous points, implanted into people, and just be able to shove something at someone to make them stronger. Maybe like it's a standard attack to be able to remove organs for fun. Or yeah, this still makes sense since, the Backstreet Rats were able to just cut down and sell organs. Like, how hard selling organs is? Don't answer that. But the whole point is, realistically speaking, selling organs probably isn't even that profitable. Like, first of all, having someone with medical know-how to extract it. Second of all, of course, the surgery, the tool, the equipment for the surgery. Third of all, you have to properly, preserve the organ, or else it just turns into a random lump of flesh that probably is even worse than anything. So realistically speaking, you will even make that much money in the end. But considering how the rats are able to sell them, maybe like efficient removal of organs is like a standard thing that everyone in the city knows. Yeah, like if a rat from the city got teleported into reality, and just put them in the hospital, they could perform open heart surgery in 5 seconds or something like that. With the rusty knife and spoon too. Alright, something else I kind of want to talk about is the like robot faction Iberuna. I already forgot what they were called. But the whole point was they are basically just rats. But they decided to replace their entire body with robots, so they don't need to sleep or eat and stuff like that in order to save money. You know, but you just turn yourself into a robot to save on the bills. And of course, it makes them stronger too. Like, it's such a cool idea. It's just that we don't see it much. Maybe they're like just something that only happens in a specific nest. But like, since them existing is already supporting my idea of like quick and efficient surgery being like easily achievable in the city via basic means. Since like it was like that much food and that much like it was like go to get surgery to extract your nervous system and turn into a robot ends up costing less than, you know, just feeding yourself and sleeping. And honestly, like for the medical technology and know-how of random backstreets workshops is probably really impressive. So maybe that's how they get implanted bodies. You know, everyone in the city is like a doctor or a dedicated surgeon. So that's how they're able to install bodily implants into everyone. Another thing I kind of want to talk about is the concept of Shin and Mang. Of course, you know, there are rings of light and protection that is created by the light. We all know that. But I'm more like thinking about how narrative is concerned with things. Like, of course, egos are the acceptance or the choice to manifest itself, but the distortions are to be honest, egos and distortions are both manifestations of the self. It's just embracing different aspects of oneself and choosing to agree or disagree with Carmen's belief of what the self, as in a person, is. But what about Shinamong? Like, do you just get him? Well, of course, I'm pretty sure it's shown that you have to practice that technique. Well, you got trained for it. You gotta be stronger. But what difference does that make? You know, like, you know, instead of getting Mong, you could just, you know, train to like get actually stronger or buy higher grade equipment and stuff. And instead of using the shin protection, you can just get body enhancements to be physically stronger. Why maybe the whole point that these things stack. So if you're like Zatsu and already like color fixer level or something like that, I mean Shin and Mong just like makes you stronger. Honestly, it's quite strange the fact that the light itself is able to completely offset the balance of the city itself. But then again, yeah, the two organizations, the Wadmin Corporation and the library, have both ended up being a parody of the city level threats. So it makes sense why they're just that powerful. Then, like, I still feel like Angela is probably actually the strongest character in the Project Moonverse at this point. You know, having the entire library as her ego, especially, and how in the Bad Nation was able to consume the entire city. Like, not just like consume a corp and then have the head shut him down for impurity related reason. Including the arbiters, including the porters, including whatever is like stronger than them. Like, you know, if the crawler literally just sit around to like collect taxes and stuff, so there's gotta be some military force that's way stronger than that. Considering how the only one arbiter is dispatched to take out the library, maybe, you know, just hang out cocky, got a few arbiters taken out, and then after they realized it was too late, Angela already had the books of the arbiters, and it was far too powerful for them to stop. So I think that's how they were able to take care of the city. But then again, yeah, the blue-haired woman that we generally like believe is probably Barry was able to kill Angela in the end. Well, a lot of people believe that's mostly because Angela chose to just give up. Like, Angela saw how that woman, I'm pretty sure, killed all the other book hunters and decided to just like give up and let herself be killed, and she found no purpose in life after taking over the entire city, even after fighting the final book. I feel like this is probably like what's implied through the W corporate counters, that, you know, a person can't survive this amount of time. Just by being human, Angela wouldn't be able to handle this amount of time, and would rather seek death in such a case. So I think that's why. I think Barry is definitely strong. I assume it is Barry. Like, even the back of her cloak in the last Library Ruin CG has a constellation that is equivalent to the star that Barry, the goddess, represents. So she's definitely strong. And of course, her living very long, but like living long in the city that we are, like a lot of this entities are quite long-lived. But what I kind of want to think about is what's the actual strongest entity in the verse? Maybe it's Angela herself. It might be Carmen, but it probably isn't. And I feel like Angela is still the best candidate for that. But, considering how all of the most of the singularities were found in the outskirts in the ruins, I'm pretty sure Cognito was actually invented. So the ancient civilization likely didn't have access to Cognito like we do now. Though they did have access to light. But still, what wiped out the ancient civilization? Was it themselves? But even if they wiped themselves off, like their strongest, like their personal super soldiers are likely way stronger than ours. Since their singularity, since the singularity that that's in the city are like nothing compared to them. The singularity of few super soldiers are some of the strongest forces out there. Let's say like we had like probably like singularities on their belt buckles and stuff like that. And also, but then again, the way the singularities work, it's also kind of weird to me. Like for us, of course, the technology is patented and it kept secret. Like the fact that the corps are willing to stay peaceful with each other and choose not to engage in conflict. And some singularities are clearly more like offensive oriented than others. But then again, I feel like if any corp decide to rebel, they will likely be designated in the purity of the city level. My whole point, again, Star of the City is very much a spectrum. It's like anything that's higher than Star of the City level was also considered Star of the City. And the purity of the city is only a side if they fight against the head and would change the order of the city itself. For example, I'm pretty sure it's sent somewhere that the index entire syndicate, one of the fingers is also Star of the City level. Compared to like the dog person that Argelia brings along, like we still don't know about her. She was probably like somewhere like sub-related or middle related, I don't know. They definitely syndicate related. And distorted into a dog person because for sodas, I don't know. Like, that person's Star of the City is entire index of Star of the City. Alright, something else I wanted to... Wait, no, let's finish the previous topic first. The whole point, the Corp could definitely become an impurity of city level if they chose to rebel. Now, for example, T-Corp's plan to stop time forever, that would definitely change up the city a huge amount. Or maybe it won't change at all. Since, if time just got frozen forever, it would either be everything stops forever, or literally nothing happens from anyone's perspective. Since time did get stopped, but after an infinite amount of time, it kept continuing. But since time got stopped, 0 times infinity is 0, so you experience nothing. And of course, L Corp Rebellion for the bad ending. But again, now it's shut down in 3 days. But I feel like that's what you get when you field multiple arbiters and beholders, claws simultaneously, and send them all out to take care of them. Like, seriously, how many claws are there? Like, if they're just out here like, hunting down people who break taboos? But then again, considering how scared people are of taboos, people probably don't actually break them all that often. And I'm pretty sure they just teleport around you like W Corp or something. Like, not W Corp trained. I mean, like you see in like the W Corp agent skills, like they're able to cut open space and appear at places. Barrel literally has a serum W that's able to do the same thing. Alright, something I find cool is that in the massacre scene for Canto 8, where the claws are showing off, we see that they have different color syringes, so like Barrel managed to get R Corp syringe, K Corp syringe, and the W Corp syringe, but they probably had different ones. And not sure if people haven't pointed this out before, but all the arbiters, beholders, and claws use different corps. Spinus can include, Lock, which is probably J-Corp's Lock, Fairy, which is probably F-Corp's Fairy, Shockwave, which I'm pretty sure is her unique, and other stuff I forgot. Alright, Degrade too. I'm pretty sure it's cited like one Corp has the ability to mentally degrade someone's mind or something, like M-Corp, I don't know, I don't remember that one. Really should read more about this, but come on, there's way too much to read. Reading, impossible. Another thing I kind of want to talk about. Right, what was I trying to say again? Right, yeah. We haven't actually seen the strongest in any of his figures before. Like, the Sum has its own hierarchy of things, and it actually does rank some of its members below, like, other organizations. For example, when the girl tried to talk back against Angela, fighting back against someone who's the leader of the Star City is higher ranked than them, so she got her tongue removed. Also, the Sum like cuts out her tongue every single time they appear. Like, every time the Sum shows up, someone's tongue is going missing. That's kind of their signature skill at this point. Like dedicated tongue removals. They probably like teach a eternal course on how to like remove people's tongues. Huh. But what I'm asking is, like, what is the high? I'm pretty sure we got a Capo 2, so Capo 3, Capo is third highest, Soda Capo is, that will kind of imply that Soda Capo is 2, and Sodato is 4, so that's probably this naming scheme, like we could probably know which one is the highest rank, but like I don't really know what this naming scheme is built around, so we haven't actually seen them. The whole point is like if an arbiter showed up to them, would they choose to bow down due to their own internal hierarchy, or would they choose to stand up because they are the leader of the Sum and personally rank themselves higher than everyone else? Like, I find that kind of interesting. And of course, the strongest index, like, the proxies, the messengers, and such. Maybe the prefix machine is actually the strongest member of the index due to its strategizing ability. But have we ever seen like an index machine like actually fight for its survival? Like if someone decides to go and destroy index machine, its specified stuff will probably find a way to predict that. I think that's unlikely to happen in the first place, since the prefix machine will probably write prescripts that will guarantee that no one wants to destroy it in the first place. And even they want to fight back against the index, the prescripts and the invitations manage to like double team him into making him both being unable to defeat the library and unable to defeat the prefix machine. Like, what happens if it properly fights for survival? Like, what kind of orders can it issue? And of course, like, if someone actually is dead set on destroy a prefix machine, then there's no way to change that, so probably just issue a prefix like hunt down and kill this person. I think they never is. Yeah, the prefix machine is usually vague. Like, hunt down this person to remove his spine, or like hunt down this person and put his brain in a blender or something like that. Dang it, I'm pretty sure we have seen the prefix machine lose, as a bad ending of Library Runa. But I'm pretty sure that was actually like an intentional thing. Like at the ending, like you actually get choice, you get to make a decision. It shows how they do in fact have free will in the end. They do have in fact have the ability to make a choice. So, the prefix machine relies on guarantees and such, but having the free will to make a decision means that that the prefix machine losing to the library in the bad ending does actually make sense, since out of her own free will, Angela chose the option, and since it was her free will, her own complete and free will, the prefix machine could do nothing to stop it. And of course, the library was so powerful at that point that it likely couldn't send enough proxies and messengers to do something about it. Also, like, is Great Brother the highest rank in the middle? But like, I haven't actually went through this enough. But like, Great is the highest rank in the middle, I don't know. Of course, the ring does things Like, I've seen a video about how the ring is different from all the other syndicates due to their like research and advanced technologies. Their research into the mirrors and identities. Even seeing Kanto is safe, yeah. But I feel like that's actually what makes it similar to all the other syndicates. Like, yeah, they have their own technology, but they're all just blind syndicates, hungry for power. Researching new technologies is simply just another way to gain that power. So by their very nature, they are not different whatsoever. To be honest, the Pinky is probably the strangest. Like, I'm pretty sure Zatsu being the second Tengen star might imply that like the leader of the Pinky is someone stronger. And it might be. And considering the naming scheme of the 10 stars and Zatsu and the concept of Jason, like maybe the highest member of the Pinky is named after the first star in the water margin. Or maybe, or like someone else. It's pretty reliable to know that they're probably based off water margin in some way or the other. And I'm pretty sure we did hear quite a few messages about how the Pinky is the most terrifying one. Now I think we don't want, Zatsu, the leader of a bunch of singularity-infused super soldiers. Yeah, sure. Now, like, it does actually help them. The Seika Peisho as singularity-infused super soldiers. Because, like, in Age Corp, you kind of, considering the amount of time we spent there, we kind of forget that we're in the city. Like, of course, the power dynamics are there, but we kind of forget we're in the city. We don't hear about fixer grades, we don't hear about strat rankings for so long, we don't think we're there. And again, there are singularity-infused super soldiers, like, that are probably, like, equivalent to, like, tier 3 or 4 agents of T-Corp. Or like a L-Corp agent with like, I don't know, HE egos, and of course the adepts are higher ranks. By the way, I think the strongest units are usually in Haoyuan, usually like discounting whenever a color fixer decide to visit. I think the strongest ones are usually there are probably like the Heisho Senran. It's the whole point with it, even when Jamu took the Bola, she was only like level 50 something. And I'm pretty sure it's because, she was able to survive the family hierarchy trial, but that was mostly due to her negotiation skills, and not really her own combat. She likely did have to go through some training, so she does have some combat skill, but definitely not enough. And of course, due to her old age, a long time of not doing any combat, instead just doing planning and stuff like that, she likely didn't exactly until that combat. So she likely needed the bolus in the first place just to raise her level to the 50 or so. Raise her level as in her physical strength. She needed that bolus to become that strong. And of course, after she distorts, the golden bow actually ends up buffing her. And I'm pretty sure that's the whole point, the arbitration of the golden bow. It's kind of like more Stasis. It wants to even out everyone. And the golden bow, I'm pretty sure, gives her like 4 offense and defense level since in order to make her equal to the sinners. While the golden bow ended up debuffing the Don Quixote, making him weak enough to be defeated by the sinners, even in his starved state. And again, his starved state was the one that gave him the most offensive defense level down, while the golden bow gave him some to make it truly balanced. And again, it was still 10 levels of debuffs or something. It's still a lot. And of course, that could also weaken the Paladin Whale enough to not instantly kill us once we devour it. So, that kind of implies that the Golden Bow's arbitration is based on the Mist Company itself. I mean, it kind of makes sense, Dante had a Golden Bow in his head, so it's got to even it out somehow. But that kind of implies a way deeper connection with Dante and the Golden Bow. And, maybe, like I said, Dante might be the Fallen Nebulate. Dante might be the star. But again, a Fallen Nebulate returning to the star, returning to the star in the sky. Maybe he's like an aspect that fell out of the light. Or maybe it's the fact that Ian didn't get his own realization and needed to return. Since the theory that Dante's Ian is still very much strong. Or maybe not exactly Ian. Ian is a professional in creating multiple personalities for himself to suffer. He's a professional at doing that. But it's still kind of weird to me. And of course, something I find, alright, yeah, he also didn't really act like Iron. Like when he was like in the starting, like when he was attacked, he seemed to be angry and threatening to use his thing. I'm pretty sure the thing he uses is a consistent 3-letter thing. Like it might be ego, but I don't know. And of course, he also uses the 5-letter thing. The 5-letter thing is probably aspect, but we don't really know much about the rest. Yeah, and wait till I get my ego. What you do, it shall be done. This still doesn't really make sense to me. Like, how does one do use their ego? Or maybe it's not ego, you know, the 3-letter thing. What is it? Seriously, what is it? Like, Project Moon keeps like the amount of blinks consistent for the things that are censored, so what is it? Also, I've also find like the memory control technically quite interesting. Like, just be able to control someone's consciousness completely, absolutely. Is that human? But then again, you know, let's see that very definition of human. Of course, human want power to control others. Of course, human will be suspicious of betrayal and choose to control others, absolutely. Like, for example, the memory wiping procedure. Like, it's kind of interesting that even though Dante managed to remember what was meant to be wiped, he was unable to remember how the procedure went. And maybe it's that the procedure is the strongest part of the memory wiping thing. Like, yeah, it targets certain memories to destroy, but while destroying memories, it literally cannot. It prohibits the creation of new memories or something like that. Or maybe this company is signed a deal with K-Corp for Dante to actually keep the memories. But the memory wiping machine, you might just have the property of getting rid of the memories. And there's also, of course, the J-Core block. You really don't get to see the J-Core block, like at all. Like, we don't get to see it whatsoever. And be able to lock something on a conceptual level. I feel like locking someone's ability to develop, locking the ability of someone to think. And that, of course, also relates to Rhodion's personality. You know, she's locked in herself. She's frozen into place. She's unable to fight for the change that she wants. And of course, she's unable to see who she actually is. You know, she sees who she actually is, but she has locked her. She is able to see it, but she locked her ability to comprehend, to understand who she is. Well, we really don't get to see the J-Core block, like, at all. Like, Faust explains it to us, and that's kind of just fan service. Like, the best we see of the lock is probably, like, the lock in the Arbiter's moveset, you know, casting lock at someone. But, doesn't make sense to me. I feel like it makes sense. And also, of course, the M-Core Moonstone. I'm pretty sure, like, this kind of just, I'm pretty sure that's how, like, certain drugs in real life actually work, you know? Like, they force you to fixate on something, force you to get a large amount of energy. So it might not even be singularity, it might just be hard drugs. No. Like, the Moonstone might not just be, like, magical rocks, it might just be hard drugs. In which case, they're still quite magical rocks, aren't they? Alright, yeah, speaking of J-Corp, let's talk about the objectively best character, Rhodion. If you actually pay attention, her character seems to actively devolve throughout the story. Like, she seems to, you know, degenerate in some form. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, she just seems more stupid. Like, the first part where I started to actively notice it was in Kanto 8, where she seemed kind of stupid. Like, at first I thought it was just for plot reasons, you know. Like, when Don Quixote goes through her stuff, and Hong Liu knows way too much about H-Core politics to fall for, like, the cheap tricks. Like, oh my god, I can't believe his families are betraying us. And man, I thought the dinner was, and the celebration party was real. Like I saw at first, maybe it was just some plot convenience since someone had to do that. And since the two dedicated airheads are no longer airheaded, she kind of had to sub in. But another possibility was just be that she's just drunk from the party and such, which wouldn't kind of make sense. I feel like it actually kind of makes sense if, like, you see this development actively happening after Kanto 7. Of course, time-killing time is the one that's most important for for her character, and the way that she was able to change and how she was forced to confront herself. But even when forced to confront herself, she still chooses to run away once again, just like she did with Baba Yaga. But it actually makes sense when you put it in context with Canto 7. That maybe Rodion saw how Don Quixote hid her true self, and saw that she too could just put on a cherry personality. Of course, she already puts on the cherry personality intentionally, but maybe she just saw she needed to go even further, because her real self was even more, because she was even more afraid to confront her real self, now that she kind of knew what's there. It's following that kind of interesting, but how would Rodion break out of this loop? Seriously, is there a way out? You know, she wants to be special. And how? How would that be special? I don't know, maybe she could like suddenly manifest ego and aura farm and stuff. But even so, she's not special. And that would just make her a powerful character in the city. And the city does not lack powerful people whatsoever. Does not lack people with absurd amounts of strengths whatsoever. So that definitely wouldn't grant her wish to be special. Like even, like maybe, you know, she could find a ways to, you know, help everyone. But considering her response to Sonya's question on using the golden bow to create their ideal world, she's refused. So I don't think giving her the chance to be a good person like that would be a way to make her special either. But, so, how would it happen, you know? Maybe she, you know, confronts herself, defeats her distortion or something like that, but even that, I don't think that's special enough. And then again, maybe that's the point. Rodion won't ever be special. She doesn't have the mark of Cain or whatever's, and she will never actually end up becoming special. And maybe, like, just like the book, she would be forced to accept that, you know. And also marry Sonya and live together forever. just like the actual book that it's based on. Another thing I find pretty interesting is kind of just how the game mechanics have evolved. I feel like a lot of bosses go through the process of first ads for you to fight, farm Sandy on, then basic attacks with like a few stronger skills located at the end that you have to clash your skill trees against. And every once in a while, one singular strong skill that you either clash against or lose. You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. I know, let's say Hung's, the Arclight Collab guy, and like even Sancho or something like that. But I feel like I kind of really don't like this boss design. Since like, the game is already RG based enough. Like if they have one singular attack that staggers your entire team if you don't win, you're just fucked if you get the evil ass 5% chance. And if you clash against it with ego, considering the sanity use, there probably will even be a 5% chance to just get fucked. And the instant you lose, bam, your entire team gets staggered. Of course, with backup units it's slightly easier, since even if your team dies, you still have guys to come in. But still, that feels bad, man. It feels bad. Like, what else can you do with it, you know? Like, seriously, what else can you do? And if I was a good game developer, I would be able to brainstorm some way to find a way out of this. But I'm not a good game developer, so let's hope they just figure out a way around it. Or maybe, you know, they make it so that the evil last 5% chance won't fuck us over when clashing against the big skill. The big skill that you have to win against. Alright. Speaking of Sancho, Canto 7 is by far my favorite Canto. Thing 8, Canto 8, Canto 6, all of them were peak, but Canto 7 is still my favorite. Since it just gives you the question, was Don Quixote a hero? Like seriously, was he? Right? Take it, we have the same question in the novel it's based on. Is he a hero? Is he a knight? No, he's not a hero. He's hurting people. No, he's not a hero. He's living delusions. But still, in Man of La Mancha 2, the hit sequel to Man of La Mancha, now he even realizes how he does in fact bring entertainment to people, or bring joy to people. Is that our hero? Of course, yeah, of course, he hurt someone, but did they deserve it? Honestly, at this point, maybe. But in this context, and in this company, was Don Quixote hero? You know, you could see him as the evil, as a more villainous parental role. A parent who forces their vision onto their children, especially due to the Blood Fiend's choice to use familial bonds. But I think that's kind of stupid. Like, the only reason you think of that is because like the Blood Fiends use like father and mother. If they just call each other like boss and stuff like that, you wouldn't even get to that. I really don't think that's the way where I see him. Then again, maybe he's a villain. He forced his followers to do what they didn't like. But also, to do something you don't like for a good reason. Still quite questionable. You know, to make someone do what they don't like for good reason, like, I don't know, Michelle Obama forcing kids to eat the whatever the hell they serve in schools. Like, that's something I don't like. Like, something that's actually good, you know. I don't know, like banning child labor in factories or something like that. I don't want to do it, but it's a good thing. Of course, I've also seen another way of thinking of this. Like, you know, why do you stop the Blood Fiends from taking blood? The humans are also in the city are also violent. I think that's kind of the point, you know. The humans are violent and the Blood Fiends are too. But to just let it continue, to perpetuate the cycle of violence, and in fact choose to fuel the violence even more. And then is that what makes you a villain? Of course, everyone else is doing it, you know. But like, doesn't that just make you a bad person in the end? And just because someone else killed someone doesn't mean you can. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean that you should. So, while I personally think that he's a hero in the choice to make his followers actually have an idea what they can do. Of course, the hemo bar failed because, you know, the Blood Fiends needed the emotions in blood, not just the nutrients. And they probably don't even need the nutrients in the first place. Like, it's showed that much of that is made out of blood. And even after 200 years, we don't like see the Blood Fiends like nibbling on the signposts in order to get nutrition. So they probably don't even need the nutrients in the hemo bars to survive. And they could literally survive on their own. Of course, they'll hurt a bit, but they'll survive. But the whole thing is, they needed emotions. They needed emotions, all of it. They needed all the emotions in the blood. And the hemo bars gave them the nutrients to survive. And they probably even gave them additional nutrients that they didn't need. You know, additional nutrients to make their life even better. But it doesn't have the emotions. Of course, Sancho and Don Quixote are the exception. They had the emotions. They wanted to become heroes. They wanted people to praise them. They got their emotions by bringing happiness upon others. It's literally explained in the haunted house story. They chose to give up their happiness to gain happiness by helping others. But also, that's quite a questionable idea, isn't it? To help people, to find happiness in helping people. Of course, there are some cynics out there that'll only find joy in hurting people, or say human beings aren't able to find happiness unless it's for themselves. But no, you can definitely find happiness in helping people. Like, to deny that is literally just denying things that actually happen. Like, there are people who find happiness in helping others. Like, that's literally the point. You know, Don Quixote and Sancho were able to do so and get their desired blood. Of course, Don Quixote was finally betrayed and had the golden bow impaled through him, and finally reawakening his thirst for blood, naming him only the Blood Fiend that he is. Of course, Sancho was able to win the hopeless clash with an impossible dream. And also, I still love the final scene so much. Like, they've, number one, you know, the director, the choreo, the scene itself, the lights, and of course the music. Damn, that was good. Also, just the little things, like, you know, Don Quixote's dance, like our Don Quixote's dance was broken. Her dance says "Sway the impossible," meaning impossible dream. but it's broken in a way that it only says Suedo, meaning it only sends dream. So, she holds her dream in order to fight against Don Quixote. And of course, they clash in front of the white moon. The white moon as in Night of the White Moon. Not the white moon as in, I read somewhere that in medieval fairy tales, when the knight loses something, they fight it on the moon. So Don Quixote lost his idea of heroism, and then on that clash in front of the moon, he was able to find it back, which is why he finally smiled in the end. Alright, something I also really like is the ego domain expansion that sinners are able to pull out. If we already know that, egos change the scene around them. We've seen them in Runa a lot. You're incorporated into the ego user's mental space or something like that, I'm pretty sure. The main expansions are so good, Esau gets his room full of broken mirrors and portraits of the past. As Ishmael gets her open water with the sunset. He's gonna get to the distortion domain expansion of a graveyard, of a disheveled graveyard in the thunderstorm. Don Quixote, we don't really see it expand truly, but I think Don Quixote is probably definitely just her lands in her true form as Blood Fiend, and Honglu's Gate, and of course the open version of Gates where his emotions are truly able to flow out. Yeah. Honestly, there's still kind of hyped about thinking what's in the far future for this game. Far future when we find the true ending for this game. The true ending. After Altis gets her canto regarding the smoke war or whatever. After Faust getting her canto regarding Limbus Company, since that's literally her background. And her scene and the window in her ego shows the extraction thingamajig. But then again, it's not enough cantos to get all the Golden Bill residences. Maybe they might just get multiple residences per canto, maybe Altis gets multiple residences, or Faust gets multiple residences. Or maybe there's additional cantos for Virgilius and Dante in the end. But at the end, what do they all want? Of course, some may say that the wishes have been granted, he's still able to see Catherine or something. We don't know their specific wishes. Esau was able to get over his past, and Don Quixote was able to go on an adventure. Was Don Quixote's wish to go on an adventure or to return? I don't know. But they were able to get their wishes. So what will those their endings be? Will they pull the Bottoming Corporation and just all ascend into the light together? Only to be betrayed again for the new Project Moon game. I think the Tree of Light is never actually able to shine for 7 days. Of course, we only tried it twice, but someone always stops it. I feel like there might be a message in that. It's the Tree of Light. Some people will think that Tree of Light might be bouncing people into story and manifest ego and such. But it doesn't just give you the ability to manifest ego, it also gives yourself the ability to see your true self. If you want a better world, instead of just staying around and go everyone else is murdering people, so I might as well do the same. You'll be able to see it. We'll be able to see it. I want a better world without all the pain, without all this hatred, and they would have the ego to create it. I feel like that's an improper way to actually destroy the head. I'm saying, the head would just shut it down, they were able to shut down the Bottoming Corporation rebellion, where they turned the entire district into distortions in 3 days. So they couldn't deal with the entire city. That's the whole point. I feel like the head will rebel against itself at that point. The arbiters will understand that, hey, I only decided to get this job as a super soldier because I wanted the money. But I want to fight for a world where people don't just do things because of their money, because of the fame, because of the power, where people can do things for themselves. Or maybe the claws will understand, and that they only went through the procedures because they went through on test all the procedures to become a claw, or because they wanted to become more powerful. But they actually want a world where people don't have to strive to become the most powerful just to survive. I feel like at that point the head it won't even be a proper rebellion. The head itself will literally change its leadership. Like whoever's in charge of the head won't even need to be overthrown, as they will actively want to make the city a better place. They will actively go down themselves, down to the back streets to help people. I feel like that's why what the Tree of Light actually means. But I don't think this kind of light can actually be shine. This kind of light can actually shine. It just be due to human nature itself. Like this city is human. Humans do want power. Humans do want to be wealthier. Humans do want to hurt others. Humans do want to establish themselves to be stronger than others. And just by that fact, the Tree of Light can never actually shine. Of course, it could shine brighter. So people are able to. So there will be more people with egos, more people who want to fight for a better city. And perhaps like that too, they might actually be able to create a better city, like change out to the leadership of some corps, actually help people. You know, like Sonya actually end up helping those who need it. But the Tree of Light can never completely shine. Like I don't believe this utopia can actually exist. Yeah. Since after all, if we reach a utopia, where could we go from here? Just by the fact that the previous civilization with all those singularities was destroyed, we can't create our utopia with just the singularity of Cognito and the light itself. Of course, it's not just powered by the singularity Cognito, it's likely powered by the goodness of humanity, you know. The Sephiroths finally accepted themselves, Angela understanding her nature and being able to help. And maybe if the Limbus Company decides to do the same, the sinners be able to conquer, be able to face their fears, be able to save their own egos. I guess that's the point.
공격 범위 확인. 출력 최대치.
그간의 전투 경험이 쓸모없군요.
지키기 위해서
급한 조치.
당신이 물러 터졌군요.
그래, 그렇게 시원하게 처리하니 보는 맛이 나는군. 일 처리는 빠르게 하는 편이.
한결 낫네요.
차라리 효율적으로.
아르카나 세이버!
공격 범위 확인. 잘했습니다. 효율적으로. 소란이 줄었네요.
씹는 맛이 있는데? 싱싱한 풀이 보이네.
단순해서 좋군 9번 수감자. 물론 좋은 성과를 갖고 돌아온다면 다른 적절한 걸 준비해주지.
정확하게. 아무것도 남지 마라.
말리기 싫으면 비켜! 모두가 너를 잊어도 반드시 되찾을 거다.
전투에 임하겠습니다. 효율적.
그간의 전투 경험이 쓸모가 없진 않았군요, 단테. 적합한
모든 걸
조치였습니다.
걷어들일 순 없었어. 정의 이름으로!
출력 최대치.
그래, 그렇게 시원하게 처리하니 보는 맛이 나는군. 일 처리는 빠르게 하는 편이 덜 답답한 법이지.
나중에 이야기할까? 지금은 기분이 좀 그렇네.
집속불 내가 충전.
사랑으로! 정의 이름으로! 현! 아르카나 세이버!
골치 아픈 것들이 고기
공격받는
조각이
파괴.
되었군요, 단테. 나쁘지 않은 성과입니다.
출력 최대치. 처리했습니다.
날 뛰어보라고!
출력 최대치.
조용히.
이 정도쯤이야?
공격 범위 확인.
본인은
씹는 맛이 있는데?
소란이 줄었네요.
영광과 정의의 이름으로 지금 이곳에 등장!
단순해서 좋건 구해본 수감자. 물론 좋은 성과를 갖고 돌아온다면 달고 짭짤한 걸 준비해두지. 나라도 그렇게 했을 테지. 이만하면 훌륭하고.
차라리 아무것도 남지 마라. 출력 최대치.
아르카나 비트!
제가
무슨
괜히
일
먹을
있었던
것들을
건가?
사들고 오는 것이 아닙니다. 따뜻해. 이런 보수적인
야!
효과를 기대했어.
아르카나 세이버!
그간의 전투 경험이 쓸모가 없진 않아. 일단
출력 최대치. 날카롭고 정확하게.
야! 아르카나 세이버!
출력 최대치.
씹는 맛이 있는데?
계획보다 더 일찍 의뢰를 완수했네요. 저와 파우스트의 뛰어난 능력 덕분이지만 여러분의